After each applicant has presented his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and address before you speak. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes the members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, and property owners and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction regarding such things as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with the appropriate other boards. I'll next move to roll call of the members. Vanessa Curran.
Present.
Chelsea King.
Present.
Ann McGill.
Present.
Myself, Peter Wilson. Michael Splain has a family situation and will not be in attendance this evening. First order of business on our agenda is a notice of intent for 100 Water Street, DEP file number 14-1368. Who is here for the applicant?
So Mike, you're gonna go right up to that mic over there.
Oh, okay, great.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Seecamp Environmental Consulting, and we're in Kingston, New Hampshire. I'm here tonight representing Paris and Jason Pelletier for 100 Water Street. You may be familiar with this project, and it was approved back in, I think it was 2014, had a superseding order of conditions and an agreement with the town. And the order of conditions has since expired. And what we're proposing is to do exactly what was proposed before. And I know that we received the request for more information and some advisory information from your agent, Ms. Pendergast. And I'd like to address those. We have not provided, there are 4 items here. And number 3 was that our application is missing some required details. We have not had the opportunity to do that yet, and I assume that you normally require new submitted information at least a week ahead of the meetings. I'm not sure if that's your policy, but it seems to be with most commissions. At any rate, I would like to talk about some of these other issues, and I'll read them out and then we can discuss it. Number 1, although the DEP previously issued a superseding order of conditions, SOOC, approving the project in 2009, the permit expired in 2014. Therefore, any new notice of intent filing would be subject to the most recently adopted Wetlands Protection Bylaw regulations. And that brings us to number 2, which the project is proposing a total of 54% alteration in the 50-foot no-build zone. The bylaw explicitly limits the total alteration to 20% in the no-build zone. Section 3 of the Danvers Wetlands Bylaw. Considering this, the Commission is not authorized under the bylaw to approve a project proposing alteration above the 20% maximum allowable threshold. So I'd like to just hear what the Commission has to say regarding that, because it's obviously a fairly important aspect of this project.
Well, if you're proposing a 54, to alter 54% of the area within the limits, obviously you can't.
Obviously what?
You won't be able to.
We won't be able to, okay.
No, we don't have
That,
the
I mean, that was
authority, nor will
more or
we.
less, I think, what Ms. Pendergast was saying, and I just wanted to verify that the Commission is.
We don't have the authority, nor would we, at our discretion, be willing to do that.
So under no circumstances you would be willing to grant a waiver for that requirement?
I don't think we can.
So,
Nothing, okay. And so then that brings us to, as I mentioned before, I'm sorry?
That's some notice, background notice.
Oh, okay. Number 3 was just the additional information, but as I mentioned before, we haven't addressed all those issues because we wanted to get these clarified. Number 4, the staff reminds the applicant that the site is currently under violation status and will be closed once the required mitigation work under the previous SOOC is complete. Now, the violation basically was doing some of the work that was approved in the SOOC to move a street drainage that did not have an easement on the property and actually caused the bank erosion to a great extent. And so that work has been done, but it was done after the superseding order of conditions expired, so therefore it's in violation. So I'll continue. This was discussed during the last violation hearing with the Commission in August 2020 and was further advised by Mass DEP. During the August 2020 meeting, the applicant agreed to return with an updated site plan, which we have, showing the site's existing current conditions for comparison with the previous mitigation proposal. And I'd like to just point out that the only change really is the location of that pipe. There really is a de minimis change to the, fortunately, there hasn't been any additional bank erosion that we can determine. Let's see, the NOI is requesting to complete the required mitigation work alongside the work for the single-family home as shown on the provided plan. Staff is not advising this as approval of the home construction is not guaranteed by the Commission. I think that comes back to your previous statement that because we're over the 20% impact, we would not be able to do that. This could likely cause further delay in restoring the exposed coastal bank. And just, she goes on, I'm sure you've got a copy of this. So that's where we stand, and I guess number 4 is, can we proceed with the notice of intent before we resolve the restoration of the area that was originally proposed, basically?
I would say no, that you have to mitigate, what you're in violation of, and then come back with an NOI proposal.
So under no circumstances we can proceed. I mean, I guess if we can't get past number 2, then this
Right,
is almost a moot. It's almost a moot point.
I mean, you have to. What are you proposing to fix the coastal bank erosion? You said the pipe has been moved, or it hasn't been?
It has been moved, yes.
So what is the next step?
The next step would be to do the plantings that were originally proposed, and any of the filling of the area that the original pipe caused in that divot that you see there, in the yellow where it goes into the orange. That's basically where it was.
So you were hoping to do both at the same time, it sounds.
Correct.
Right, and I think we're saying that you have to do the mitigation first, and then you obviously have to do a little more work to get under that 20% limit.
So then that brings us back to number 3, which would be additional information has to do with the building of the project. So there's no point in us addressing that issue until what you're saying, until we've done the mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing more to offer.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to, what the commission had noted in the chair, that there is no option to go above the 20% threshold, but if you were to ask for something above that and the commission denied it, you do have the opportunity under superseding order. So that would be your way to get at least review of your full project, and that the commission can't approve anything above 20%, but if it were to go through...
That's under your bylaw. It's not under the Wetlands Protection Act. I mean, we could do this project if we were just going by the Wetlands Protection Act. So it's my understanding that in order to overturn a decision by under a bylaw, would require going to Superior Court.
Then if that's correct, then that clarifies that scenario.
I beg your pardon?
Then I guess that would be the scenario going.
Okay. I mean, is that the Commission's understanding?
Yes. Mhm.
Because we're under the bylaw and under the Wetlands Protection Act.
I think like George is saying, like, you do have an avenue to appeal. You could go to, what is it, to the superseding order of conditions to the
Or if it's,
DEP?
I'm not privy to the technical appeal process under the local bylaw, but that's what I would say. The commission blanket does not have the authority to waive that 20%.
Yeah, the DEP does not have the authority to overturn or to trample on a local bylaw. We'd have to go to Superior Court if we were denied under the bylaw. And that's what the 20% rule is.
Then I guess that's the process that you guys could go
Okay,
for.
I have nothing more to,
Just one other point. I've seen this piece of property advertised as being fully permitted. Are you trying to sell this? Or obviously not you, but
you'd have to ask the owners.
Yes, hi, my name is Paris Pelletier, 240 Locust Street in Danvers. Yes, the idea was we have right now a valid building permit that was extended by the state of Mass, Governor Baker, during the pandemic. So I went to see the building inspector, and anyway, so we now have a valid building. The valid building permit is still valid. We had given this to a realtor to put on the market, assuming we could go ahead with it, but based on this and based on the enforcement order we received from the DEP, that's why we're here. So, I wanted to ask the board, are they familiar with, is anybody from the board run this by the town's legal department?
Georgia?
This particular project?
Yes.
No, we haven't consulted with town council on,
Okay. The reason I ask is, we have an agreement with the town.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
not expire, that the board signed, the town manager signed.
which is privy
the
to the
agreement-
sewer.
Excuse me?
And that's privy to the pipeline extension, or when they installed the pipe.
Well, it
not
was
the
an agreement that
single-family
we would
home.
move the pipe and give the town an easement for the new pipe in exchange, as part of the agreement, that we would get our permit to put a house up. It sounds like that's being null and void right now.
I mean, we'll check with council, but I believe you would still regardless need an active order of conditions. I don't believe the agreement allowed, no matter what, you to build the home in exchange for the sewer work. I believe it was.
Hence, that's why I asked,
Yeah.
because I wanted to see if, this agreement, this legal agreement that we have with the town was, I'm assuming was reviewed by the town's council. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been signed by Wayne Marquis and the
Oh,
board.
yeah, I'm sure they reviewed it at the time.
Right, and there's no expiration on that agreement. Okay, that answers my question, so, thank you very much.
Okay, so I guess I'd entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until, is there a date we want to come back, or are we just going to continue it indefinitely?
September 9th. I believe it's September, we do, we have two in September.
September 23rd?
September 23rd sounds right. Okay.
All right, so someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we continue 100 Water Street, Department File Number 14-1368 to be continued until the September 23rd meeting.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Vanessa?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, thanks for coming.
Okay.
So we'll see you in a month,
Thank you.
or 4 weeks. Okay, item number 2 is a continued public hearing for a request for determination of applicability for 55 Wenham Street, DCC file number 02-2021. The applicant is Mark Spear. Is anyone here to represent Mr. Spear?
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Great. So this is a continued public matter. For the record, my name is David Cowell. I'm a senior wetland scientist with Hancock Associates on behalf of Mark Spear. I'll keep this brief. Following the prior hearing that we had in this matter, we had submitted an operations and maintenance plan with intent to better housekeeping practices for what Mark Spear's is commercial use, limited commercial use of the property. Out of that hearing, I think there were two minor revisions that the commission had requested that we were able to fulfill. One was that it was asked if we could move the sediment control line at if you see the plan here, the right side, that's the hatched area, is the limited commercial use, whereas the opposite side is not subject to commercial use. We were asked if it would be possible to move our silt fence out to the 35-foot no disturb zone in the area that isn't subject to his commercial lease. We've been able to do that. So we've actually shifted that silt fence out to the 35-foot zone, just providing more buffer and protection at the top of that retaining wall that drops down to the wetland. The second request that the commission had asked is we had said that we would post no snow storage beyond this point signs along the silt fence. The commission had asked if we could post no disturb signs. We'd be happy to do so. The client, Mark Spear, had said that he would be amenable to that. The one recommendation I would have is perhaps we can, instead of having two signs, we could reconcile one sign that says something to the effect of no disturb or snow storage beyond this point, and cover both statements in one signage, and we can fix those to the posts along the silt fence. So with that, those are the only two modifications. I would turn it back to the Conservation Commission if you guys have any questions for me.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I was not at the last meeting, so I'm just a little bit behind things. So I'm just going to defer to the other members. And I guess first I'd ask Ann if she has any questions or comments.
These were the ones that we brought up and agreed upon. One of the things that did come up at that meeting is the possible planting or replacing of trees in an area near the one of the zones there, near the edge of that. Is that a consideration?
Yeah. No, that I don't recall that from the prior hearing. Forgive me if that was a subject matter that came up. I don't recall that. But I can say with confidence that the applicant wouldn't necessarily be amenable to doing any of that. He said that there was some grievance over some tree removal out there, but he not necessarily above the wall itself, but further away, and he said that wasn't something that they had done. So I anticipate resistance from the property owner.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that statement.
I anticipate resistance from the property owner. I do not think he would agree to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? No?
No.
Chelsea, any questions?
I don't think I have anything, no.
And Vanessa, questions?
No, I don't think I have any. I think this is my request to move the line to the 35, and I appreciate the willingness of the applicant to comply with that.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
There's one.
Go ahead. All right, did you just come to the microphone, sir?
Good evening. My name is Greg Druin. I live at 36 Wenham Street. And I just asked last point. I listened to the last meeting, and I know it was put out there that part of this agreement that we're signing off on mentions that they didn't know expansion of their lot or any kind of taking down of vegetation or anything else like that, and I wasn't here and I didn't speak up. But I think Mr. Spear might be the only person that says that this hasn't happened. Everybody in the neighborhood saw, heard the excavators filling in land, taking down trees. I saw them. I know neighbors have submitted video of them actually cutting down trees between their property and the southwest portion that goes on to the conservation land, or the conservation property. I think it's Rocky Neck Crop. I'm not sure. I know we had a site visit, and I'm not sure when you were there if you actually saw that line. I do know that on August 6th of 2020, they came out, Hancock came out, and they marked the property, and then the next day the markers were gone and some fencing went up. And most of the neighbors that I spoke with that saw those markers thought that maybe some of the fencing and some of the work that has been done in the past 5 years was over that line. So I'm not sure, was that line ever delineated for the people who did the site visit? And I'm guessing probably.
I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
think your timing might be a little off, because I think the site visit was last fall sometime.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
And I
well,
think they didn't have a consultant at the time.
okay, so maybe this was after that. So I was just saying that trees were taken down, and I'm really just going, that there was much vegetation that had been taken down, and the neighbors can see right through the property now. And if Mark Spear might not have had the axe to take those down, but at the time he was leasing to a large tree service, and they were the ones that did it. I saw them do it. He's got an excavating company now that's leasing property there. I saw them filling in with bulldozers and backhoes, filling in property. And I think that's the remediation that the neighbor talked about, I think Kevin James last time, I think it really ought to be done for the neighbors. I mean, it's really changed the outlook of that part of the neighborhood. And so I think there was a statement that basically said that the Conservation Commission agreed that nothing had happened after 1974 or something along those lines, and I'm not sure if that was in there or not. If that wasn't it, maybe it was just a statement said. But you can easily go on to the Oliver system, the historic satellite images of the property, and it's plain as day. I mean, go back, you can go into Google Earth now and see what it looks like now, but the Oliver system is some sort of mapping satellite imagery. You can see what has taken place, the deforestation and the widening of the area back there. So that's really my only, I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, I'm not sure that that falls within our jurisdiction. I know there's the whole ZBA issue around
Yep.
the use of land that's not permitted.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure they've agreed to do just their work just in that hatched area on the
Okay.
map. So, I think as a board, we would like to just, set down the limits for what we have our jurisdiction over, and, let's move forward.
Okay.
If there are violations in the future, you as the abutters have to be our eyes and ears
Right,
and just
yeah.
come back to us and let us know. I think they're putting up somewhat of a permanent fence to delineate the 35
Oh, yeah, that's great.
boundary.
Yeah, I'm glad they moved it back.
And
That's
no snow
fantastic.
should go beyond that, so.
Okay,
But,
so
we're here to protect the wetlands as far as,
the conservation
use of
property is
land
not,
outside of that is not in our
it's just the
jurisdiction.
conservation property, you're not really, it's not part of
I
the
do
deal.
encourage you, if you think there are
So the
violations.
Rocky Hill, they abut the Rocky Hill Conservation Land.
Say again?
They abut the Rocky Hill Conservation Land.
That might be different than the wetlands, though. We're
Yeah.
dealing
Okay.
strictly with
Yeah.
the wetlands.
I think that's where there may be some confusion
Okay,
here.
okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
But
Mr.
like I
Chairman,
say, I
so-
encourage the abutters to be our eyes and ears and let us know
Yeah,
if
we will be.
there's.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
May-
Chairman, someone has
May
their
I be heard,
hand.
board?
Go ahead, Dave.
No, we have someone with their hand up on
Yeah.
Zoom. Lisa Rizzo.
Oh, is that what you were saying?
Yeah, Lisa Rizzo has her hand raised.
Okay, Ms. Rizzo?
Hi, thank you. I reside at 37 Wenham Street. Again, I understand that you have boundaries as far as what you are responsible for. But why is it he's allowed to take down conservation trees and you know, brush and all that, and I, in 29 years, have never been able to see to his yard, and I can. And so who, if it isn't the Conservation Commission, would address that?
I mean, I think it's also a matter of determining if we needed to get into the details of exactly what trees, but if the trees are outside of the 100-foot buffer and they're on Mr. Spear's lot, he's at the discretion to remove trees as he would like.
No, they're not on his lot. They were at the border between the James's property and the Rocky Hill Conservation. And again, if you looked at the satellite imagery, you can see the difference. So who would we speak with about that? I mean, I understand if it's on his property, and that's totally, you know, up to him, but it's quite a difference from what it used to be, and it's on the conservation land. It might not be on wetlands, but it's conservation land, and what's the point of having conservation land if people don't respect it or the boundaries? I mean, the trees are down, I can see into the barn area, and the trees actually acted as a very effective buffer for noise. I mean, you can still feel vibrations and stuff from the ledge, but at least the noise didn't carry like it does now.
I don't have an answer.
And I guess there's no confirmation of where the trees are, where they've been removed from, when they were removed, and if it actually is in fact on conservation land. There's no confirmation of.
Well, I
that.
don't have the land boundaries, you know, delineated, but I do have video. We have video of trees coming down. I've had conversations with the it was North Shore Tree tree company, and he's since moved, but the trees are down. So, I mean, I you know, would like that replaced. I mean, so who would I speak with? You don't know who I would speak with about that. I'm asking, that's all.
Lisa, I'm happy, I can send you maps of the property line, and I think you'll see there that the Rocky Hill Conservation Land abuts directly up to Wenham Street. There's a small finger, so there is a separation between 39 and 55, but up by, I forget the parcel number that's in front of 55 that almost kind of shares.
41.
Yeah, so up there, there's obviously land of conservation and then some trees that is still Mr. Spear's property, and I believe you may be speaking of that area, but we can talk offline. I can send you those maps of, I think, what you're trying to clarify. I'm happy to talk with you about that.
And I do have one more comment, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
As far as the silt fence, you said that the lifespan on that was about a year. After that, what is there any obligation for him to replace it? Is there anybody who would go out and inspect it, or it just isn't an issue, and if it falls down, it falls down?
Dave, you want to address that? I think you've mentioned that in the past.
So that was a condition that we carried in our plan, is that, yes, these aren't made for, you know, long-term, but the condition that we put in the operation and maintenance plan is that he will maintain and replace the fence as necessary in perpetuity. So if he gets a year or two out of a silt fence and maintaining it, and then it starts to come down, then he installs additional silt fence. So it will be maintained and replaced as necessary in perpetuity.
On his good faith, or does someone go and check it?
Again, you guys are the eyes out there. If you see a silt fence in disrepair, you notify the Conservation Commission.
Well, we're not allowed on the property anymore, so that would be almost impossible to see the silt fence unless I go up to the edge of the property and look through where the trees have been taken down. But, okay, so it's on a good faith measure then.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see another hand up, but I can't read the name.
I think it's Susan James.
Hi, Attorney Kevin James, and I'm representing myself as a citizen, not an attorney. I am in a butter. My address is 39 Wenham Street. I've heard from Mr. Druin. I've heard from Mrs. Rizzo. And in my 22 years of practice, I generally see administrative agencies and agencies like yours trying to protect their jurisdiction. And what I see here, or what I hear, is your agency kind of saying, it's okay, all the past transgressions and damage that Mr. Spears has done, and we're just going to give him his return to compliance. And therefore, the conservation land, the Rockingham, is not within our jurisdiction. We were here on August 12th. That question was posed to the board by Attorney Splain, and it came back as affirmative that it is in fact within your jurisdiction. We are all taxpayers here. We are all law-abiding citizens. We had a nice, quiet neighborhood. We had to petition the ZBA for about a year and a half, and now we're petitioning your board. And with all due respect, it seems like your board is just giving the green light to this matter and overlooking clear, unequivocal evidence of vegetation and tree line damage between my lot, 39, and that of Mr. Spears' lot. He has no right for a return to compliance, and this board should not be veering away from this issue. This board should be saying, let's investigate this issue further. Okay, you have a neighbor saying that there's certain websites that show as clear as day what has transpired throughout the years. And I can tell you that it is on the Rockingham area. And I can tell you, and I can confirm what Ms. Rizzo says, is we now have a clear view between our backyard that we share into Mr. Spears' operation. So I, without doubt, and with full respect, ask this board to act on what it should be acting upon.
Okay. Are you all set? I think we are acting within our jurisdiction. We're going to leave it at that.
Excuse me, I would object to leaving it like that. It's not that you're acting within your jurisdiction. You're not taking jurisdiction of a matter that clearly is within your jurisdiction.
And how do you define that, sir?
The south portion of the 2.5 acre lot that is owned by Mr. Spears borders that of a Conservation Commission jurisdiction. It's a tree line. And that tree line separates my property and his property. You have evidence, or you have testimony from Mr. Druin saying, look at the maps. And you also have testimony from Mrs. Rizzo saying, look at the maps. I would think that this board would step this matter back and do, in fact, look at the maps. I don't think that the board should go forward without looking at the maps.
George, do you have any comment?
What I can say is that I think what Mr. Spears is proposing here is that he's proposing silt fencing and protective measures to button up the site. He's not proposing or applying to do any activities that the commission has regulation over. I think the tree issue can still be investigated if that's something, if the neighbors want to explore and make a formal violation complaint, but that's I think it holding up this RDA and Mr. Spear from installing the silt fence and putting up the signage, that's up to the commission if they want to make that move and where that gets stalled. But I also think, looking at the maps, there are some trees that, the neighbors of the trees that they do mention, of course, we have conservation land behind the lot, but it's also a matter of if those trees were in the 100-foot buffer zone. So there is a lot of clarification to be had and to be shown of exactly where those trees are. Because again, if it's not on conservation land and it's on Mr. Spear's land and it's out of the buffer zone, then he has the right to do as he wish. And I do see some large pine trees here that appear to be in that area, but again, outside of the buffer zone. So I think that's something that can be explored outside of this hearing. This isn't a violation hearing. This is a request for determination. And it's also, I think, really here just providing stormwater and erosion controls from the staff perspective. So it's not to say the tree issue is being ignored, but operations are still actively happening on site. So this being held up, I don't know if that would make a difference.
Right.
I would think that you're creating adverse precedent by giving someone a notice of compliance on an RDA application where they have not mitigated the damage that they have clearly done. And I'll end my argument there.
Okay, thank you.
This gentleman has his hand up here.
Sir?
Bill Bradstreet, town meeting member, precinct 1. I watched the drawings and I thought someone made the mention that the area was, I don't know, examined or whatever and staked out. Are those stakes, like a surveyor's stake, something that can't be moved? It's illegal to move if a surveyor's done his job and driven in rebar or whatever denoting what areas are, it's against the law for someone else or him to move them because he doesn't like where it went. Is that the same for the wooden stakes that were placed to delineate the setback or the buffer zones? So that if anyone, not trespassing, but invited, went on the property and saw, this is where this stake is, this is where this stake is, this stake doesn't seem to be in line with that stake, it appears that it was moved to make it more convenient for something to take place. Are they like a surveyor's stake? Or are they just merely for...
Well, they serve an active purpose of holding in the silt fence.
Okay.
They're not easy to just kind of pluck up and move around. You can move them. It's not illegal to take them out. I don't know if there's a law against surveyor stakes. There may be. But in this case, it's just something required under the permit.
Okay. I'm just looking for some help so that perhaps the next time I won't have to ask the same question. If someone's put in a stake that this is the 60 or the 100-foot buffer zone, but it doesn't appear to be where I vision it being, what do I do? Do I rely on what I see or what I feel is not correct?
Well, that line would be laid by a surveyor himself.
Okay.
So there'd be no reason to move it, if that...
In
clear.
theory.
Yes,
In theory.
of course.
Okay. And I think I've mentioned it before. These are black and white drawings. I really wish you'd use colors to denote the different areas so it's easy for someone my age to figure out this is where this area is and this is where this area is, as opposed to looking at a black and white drawing that has lines on it that I don't, because I'm not a surveyor or whatever, I don't clearly understand. I'm just trying to make it easier for me, or perhaps somebody else, hopefully, that they can clearly understand what is trying to be presented. Can you take that as a request? Whether you can do it or not, I don't know, but I certainly would. I would certainly appreciate it if that were done.
So our filing requirements for our full notice of intent applications do have color code requirements.
There you go.
Yeah. The RDAs do not, the smaller permits, because we try not to uphold, make it harder on the smaller applicants residents usually file the smaller permits. So on our bigger files, you'll see all the colors.
That's one thing I
Okay.
don't understand. That's
All right, thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments?
Yeah, Matthew Duggan.
Go ahead, Mr. Duggan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matthew Duggan, Danvers Selectman. So two things. First, about the silt fences. Those are not permanent features. I've been to a subdivision recently where I saw a silt fence actually down by silt. So is that the premise here, that the silt fence is some kind of permanent installation?
I think the applicant has said that they will maintain that silt fence. They will replace it as necessary.
And that's a condition for the approval of the commission?
Yes.
And who's gonna monitor that? The conservation agent?
The applicant is
It's
saying that
an
they are going
important
to.
question because, like I say, these fences, they're not built to be permanent. So, they fail. And the other thing, one other comment is about that, the resident, the woman spoke about the trees getting cut down. That's a real problem for me because I see this on a regular basis where abutters encroach on town-owned open space, and it really burns me up. We need to have somebody go out there and physically look to see what's happened out there. We need to accommodate the resident. She's taken the time to come to the meeting, and she's brought this to your attention. I know it may not be within your realm, but be that as it may, it still sounds like a serious violation to me. And someone needs to go out there and check it out, someone from the town. And I suggest that you put, excuse me, you need to put this application, continue it to the next meeting until that site visit can happen. We can't tolerate abutters doing this kind of activity with no repercussions. They need to be held to task. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the time.
You're welcome. Is there another person looking to speak?
I just don't think the hand's been lowered. That's from previous.
Okay, let me just pull the board and just get a feel for what everyone's thinking. Ann?
What I liked about the presentation the last round was the official O&M, and it was detailed, and the in perpetuity of the maintenance. Those were the, in my point, the key
Jeremy, we
thing.
lost audio.
Audio just kicked back on. I missed the last minute and a half, approximately.
I missed everything after Matt Duggan stopped talking. Everything after that I couldn't hear.
All right, sorry.
I think, oh, here we go.
Oh, we're back. Somehow it got unmuted, but after Matt talked, we didn't say much. I think Ann had just started.
I just started.
So we'll,
I'm polling the board, Vanessa. Okay, go on. Continue, Ann. Please.
Okay, and so from basically what we saw when we went on the thing, we did not view abutter tree lines, or were they pointed out to us? However, if the land belongs to the owner there rather than the abutter, that, as we have described here, then he is in charge of that land. It is, and it's not under our jurisdiction. And I think we have to be very specific on what's under our jurisdiction, even though the neighbors want us to do A, B, and C. And so that's how I feel at this point, and
Okay,
I guess.
good, thank you. Chelsea?
Mostly what Ann said, but also like this specific hearing, it's like Georgia said, it's not a violation hearing. If there is a violation, if he has done damage to things that are in our jurisdiction, that would have to be another hearing entirely, wouldn't it? Like this particular meeting is just about the silt fence and erosion control for the operations maintenance. So like, if we were to address the tree issue, we would have to have someone go out observe that there has been a violation and then come in for another meeting. Like, it's not something we can address right here, I don't think. If I might not be correct, but that's my understanding of the situation.
I agree. Anything else?
Nope.
Vanessa, any comments?
Yes, I wasn't able to attend the site visit that took place last year. At this point, I really can't remember why, but I don't think that's really relevant. I just wasn't able to attend, so I'm relying on the commission members that were able to attend and staff who were on site to, because I haven't seen it pointed out on a plan or map, the area where the trees were taken down. So I'm hoping that the other commissioners and staff can, help clear this up. And it sounds to me that if trees were taken down within his property, but outside of the buffer zones, then I agree that we don't have any jurisdiction on that. That's just the same as anybody who doesn't live adjacent to wetlands cutting down a tree in their own yard. But I just haven't seen them on a map. And again, I wasn't there on site, so I think there needs to be, I don't really have a lot of clarity on where exactly the trees were cut down, but it sounds like staff are saying they're on his property, even if it seems like they might be adjacent or near the border with an adjacent property, but it's just really not clear to me. But I kind of agree that the reason that he's here before us is not because it was a violation. So not saying that if it does end up being that he cut down trees not on his property, but if it's, I don't know who deals with that in the town. If it's not under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act or the Danvers Wetlands Bylaw, but it's not on his property, I'm not really sure the right avenue for that. If it's not on his property and within areas subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, then I do see that being a problem, but I also see that being a potential separate issue to be talked about at a separate time.
Okay. Is that it, Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay, just a quick comment to add on to that. I was limping around at the site visit, and I do not recall seeing where trees had been cut down. So that to me tells me it's not. I mean, right now we're just trying to deal with the wetlands concerns in the back of this barn. And as I look at this Google picture, I do not understand where these houses are of the abutters, that their view is now changed. So that, neither here nor there, but.
I mean, it kind of builds off what Vanessa says. I think it's unclear, like, where these felled trees are in relation to the project.
Right. Okay, any other comments? Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, he could cut down trees on his land. This is conservation land we're talking about. This is conservation land. My father-in-law, who lived at 40 Wenham Street, clearly he's been dealing with the Spears for a long time, and he pointed out way long time ago where that line was. And it kind of lined up with the first stake that I saw that they put in. I forget what it is, it's 50, whatever that property is on Wenham Street. Then there's conservation land, and then there's the James property.
Can I just ask you to come here and just show me on the picture
a satellite
where?
photo.
Here. So that's conservation.
Right, but that's outside of, so
So in what we're
this
talking
bill-
about tonight, I kind of understand this all the stuff back here.
Right.
But in here. And if you come out here, so if you're saying that this is conservation land, come out and see where those fences go. If you're saying this is
Okay,
conservation.
but this goes back to our point, though, that this is,
Well, your
this
point.
line
our
is
point
here.
is,
This
our
is-
jurisdiction is back in here, and we're voting
So,
on
and
this here.
okay,
The
yeah.
100-foot
So
line
this is
ends
conservation.
literally right
Right.
here.
But that's not under the, it's not under the jurisdiction of the
So if it's
Conservation Commission.
just conservation land, like I had said to Mrs. Rizzo, they can contact me in the land use department. We can talk about
Okay,
potential
land use.
alterations
Okay,
to the
land use.
town-owned
Right.
I
land.
don't mean to be racist.
No, absolutely, I understand your
But this
concern,
is
absolutely,
really
but it's
how
like,
this all started.
right,
Right.
What's going on in here.
Okay,
like that's,
So I understand that you're doing this.
Okay.
So I
Right,
don't need to
alright.
belabor the point, but please don't say that trees weren't cut down and this view.
But like I'm
We
saying,
didn't see trees cut down.
this is where we
You're talking
walked
about this.
on the
Right.
conservation,
So,
on
like,
the
yeah, we
sidewalk.
didn't wanna
So
do-
I think all the neighbors misunderstand.
What? Okay.
Right.
What you just
I'm
said.
glad you clarified,
This right
because like,
here is
it
what
was
we're-
not clear to any, we're all looking
So
over
I'm-
at the other side of the
Okay.
paper entirely.
That's-
Thank you for your time, I really appreciate it. I
Yeah.
don't mean to be difficult, but.
No.
No,
Okay,
that's,
no, I
absolutely.
appreciate you
Fair
coming up
concern.
and showing us.
All
Okay,
right.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 55 Wenham Street, DCC, file number 02-2021.
Is there a motion been made? Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In favor, I mean, you
And
push the
Vanessa?
needle, so that's,
Vanessa?
Vanessa?
Oh, I said yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to see a motion for, well, personally, I'd like to see a negative determination of applicability. If someone can make a motion to that effect, or if they want something different, go ahead.
Can we clarify what the negative is? Like, what is it negative of? Like, I mean, I know
So
it's a
in
negative
this-
determination, but like, it's not determined to be what?
Yeah, so in this instance, the commission saying it's a negative determination that it does not warrant filing a notice of intent for the installation of the erosion control and the things that fall under the operation and maintenance plan. So you say it's negative, you determine does not warrant a notice of intent.
Okay, right. Okay, so yeah, I'll make a motion for a negative determinant of applicability for 55 Wenham Street, DCC file number 02-2021.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, good enough. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
See, all set?
Okay, item number 3, public hearing for,
You want to say anything before? You all set?
no, I think we
Okay, he's
closed it off,
frozen.
so
All
it's
right.
a done deal now. So Dave, thank you, Dave. We're all set. And I don't think you can hear me.
Okay.
Looks frozen.
Okay, next up is a public hearing, an amendment request for Lot 6 at Beaver Park Woods, DEP file number 14-1332. The applicant is Beaver Brook Woods LLC, and here to represent them is Mr.
Scott Cameron. Oh, excuse me. Good evening. My name is Scott Cameron, for the record, with the Moore and Cameron Group, 66 Elm Street in Danvers, Massachusetts. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm actually going to start tonight with a question for the board. This is a modification request. The next one on the agenda is also a modification request or an amendment. When we permitted the initial projects, we did them concurrently. And I'd like to ask if you would mind opening both hearings at the same time. It's the same applicant, same representative, so that we can talk freely about both. I'll present them separately and then dovetail them together so you can see everything together.
You could talk about them together, but we are going to vote on them.
They're separate votes, yes. This is just to open both, so they're both open at the same time, and then it's two separate votes, and it's everything's
Okay,
still
for the
separate.
record then, we're also going to open the public hearing for an amendment request for Lot 7, Beaver Park Woods, DEP file number 14-1333. The applicant is Beaver Brook Woods LLC. Okay, so that, go
Thank you so much. I'm here on behalf tonight of Beaver Brook Woods LLC. I just want to note there was a minor scrivener's error on the agenda. It's not Beaver Park, it's Beaver Brook. Mr. Colantoni is here for Beaver Brook Woods LLC. He is the owner. And we are here tonight with modification request to the existing orders of conditions for this project. If you recall, this is part of the subdivision that is under construction. Some of the homes are now starting to go up. We have been before you recently with the Lot 8 modification, and following the same protocol, now that we have architectural designs in hand, we have the lots designed, we are here with that information to present to you kind of the finished product. When we initially permitted these, we had to get the permits completed in order to move forward with the project. At that point in time, we do not have homeowners or buyers for the lots, architectural designs. So some of the permitting at that point, we know kind of what we want to do, but it's still a generic footprint for a house. And that's why we want to come back and present you the final design for the lot. So what I did, I'm actually, I'll start at the end, and then I'll go back and explain each individual lot to you, because the end is kind of the totality of the work in the riverfront area for the entire project. And I see Georgia is back, and for the benefit, I do have a laser pointer here. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Might help a little bit. Maybe, Georgia, we can coordinate with the mouse cursor for the benefit
David
of the...
has control, actually.
Or David? Oh, David, okay.
Yeah, David always has the virtual control.
All right,
So whatever you need, you can just ask him. He's
Okay. All right, I'll do my, but we did lose the plan image.
So just for the room, both Vanessa and I seem to have lost video feed. I think you can see my screen, but we just are seeing black.
How about now?
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
All right.
And if you want to zoom, you can just ask him zoom in, whatever you need, Scott.
Sure. Thank you so much. The reason we have permits on these lots that are before you is there is some work within the riverfront area to Beaver Brook. And we initially went through the designs. If you're familiar with the riverfront area standards, there is an allowance for alteration within the riverfront area up to 10% of the total riverfront area on the site. The original design stayed under that percentage, so more than 90% of the riverfront area is preserved. All of the work is on the outside or the outer 100 to 200 foot buffer area. So the old term used to be the inner and the outer riparian zone. So we're in that outer riparian zone. And the work itself is for single-family homes. So what I did is I took the two plans and I overlaid, the red here is what was approved. Now I want to start at, I said at the end, the total alteration within the riverfront area is actually a little bit less. It's not much. It's about 26 square feet less, about 5 by 5. We just shifted it between the two lots. So the designs changed a little bit, and we took about 1,500 feet from one lot and moved it into the other lot. So we decreased the impact, the footprint on one lot, and increased it on the other footprint. So the red line, just so you can see, this red line here, and I'm, David, I'm on the lot that appears in the bottom of the plan, but that red dashed line here on the outside was the original footprint that was approved for work on that lot. And as you continue across to the next lot up, you can see that line coming through here. So these are the two footprints on the lots that were approved. So that would have been the silt fence line, so the limit of clearing. What we've done is we've pulled it back on, and this is, let me get my plans out in front of me here with my notes.
Scott, just one quick question on orientation. Where is lot 8? Just so
Lot 8, yep, lot 8 would be at the top. So lot 8 is right here.
Okay, lot 7 in the middle and lot 6.
We'll find out. Just keep talking. It should connect.
Kinds of technical problems tonight.
This happened last time I presented
Too strong
You're
a
a
voice. Stand by for people at home.
What's wireless? That's fine.
I don't see a lot of batteries anymore.
That's okay. Hello, hello, there we go. Thank you. All right, so again, yeah, for reference, so lot 8 is on the top of this plan, right where the north arrow is, and we went through the modification process with that a few months back. So lot 7, again, that was the approved limit of work. The new limit of work on this lot is a little further out. So we increased the footprint on this lot by about 1,500 square feet. And then on lot 6, the limit of the work was red, and the new one is this black line, and we decreased the footprint on that lot by about 1,500 square feet. So we pulled this one away, and this one came a little bit further out.
Excuse me, when you're saying you changed the you're actually changing the dimensions of the lots?
No, the dimensions of the lot stay the same. I'm talking about the limit of work. So the area that would be altered within that riverfront area, and in total, we're still under that 10%. So we're still under that, so greater than 90% of the riverfront area on the site is preserved. Some other features I just want to point out, you can see the contour lines here, and they don't continue across, they got cut off a little bit. But there's kind of a plateau that these lots are situated on, and that more or less runs along the 100-foot setback to the river. And inside the 100-foot, which is a no disturb, it drops off about 20 feet down to Beaver Brook. So these are situated up higher on the landscape than the brook itself. So when you walk down back here, actually looking up, it's kind of tough to even see up into this area. Just for perspective, you're looking up at it. George, if you wouldn't mind switching to one of the two lots. Or David, sorry.
Do you want the NOI plan for?
Yes,
the
please. So while we're waiting for that to come up, what I'll do is I'll walk you through. So this is lot 6, and we'll start here. And you could actually zoom in on the lot so it's a little easier to see on the TV screen. Perfect. Thanks so much. We're getting pretty good at this process. So again, you can see the footprint of the house on this plan. The original one was a rectangle. It was fairly basic. This is a design by an architect that a homeowner actually wants to build. So the floor plans have now been laid out. The house is designed. We're applying that to the property. And the changes that we've made on this, all, I believe, are better for the interests of why we're here tonight. So again, this is the lot where we reduced the limit of work. So we actually took, at the closest point here, it's only about 4 feet further away. But this area here was all previously approved to be cleared. That's been pulled way back. So there's only about a 15-foot backyard on this lot. We did add a pool and a patio, and we put notes on the plan that the pavers here would be pervious, so they would be a sanded joint, not a concrete or stamped concrete, allow water to permeate through the pavers. The driveway on the prior design used to go into the side of the house this way, on this side, and it used to slope back towards the riverfront area. The new driveway design is a front entry garage that slopes back to the street. Of course, any of the driveway runoff that goes back to the street will go into the street closed drainage system, which provides full mitigation for that paved surface. We've added 2 more additional drywalls to slightly larger footprint than what was on the plan, but we've added additional drywalls here. And there was one on the plan before we moved it, but it's here. These are outside the riverfront area. So these will collect the runoff from the roof and put that back underground for groundwater recharge. And we also designed it so that the pool, if it does need to be drained out, could be drained into the dry wells. So there's no pool discharge associated with this proposal. Everything would go back into the dry well, which is one of the preferred methods for draining a pool. And they could run an overflow to that if they so chose, or just drain it back, versus having it drain over land out towards the river. And again, this lot, we decreased the footprint within the riverfront area by about 1,500 square feet. Are there any questions on this modification, on this lot?
Can we show the plan that has both versions on it?
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa, is that the one you were looking for?
Yeah, this helps. I thought there was one that had them both on the same plan, but this is good to see them side by side as well. Thank you.
David, I did have the plan that showed the, Vanessa, do you want to see the overlay with the prior design in red that was underneath it? I know that's something you usually prefer.
Yeah, we can look at that. Thank you.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So again, you can see the side entry garage on the prior in the red, and now the driveway is in the front. So this used to pitch. You'll also see in this plan, you see the red contours, 74, 72. This was all fill through here, this whole area. The new designs actually match the existing grade, and there's no greater. There's a little bit more of an excavation for the foundation, but we're not having to bring in fill to this lot, so everything matches really well. It's actually a little bit of a cut rather than a fill, so much less fill required for this one.
Was there a question you had in regards to this, Vanessa, or did you just want to see the drawing?
I just wanted to see the drawing. Thank you. I just needed to see it to get it straight in my head, some of the differences.
Okay, as I look at this, so lot 7, which has a smaller house, has a much longer driveway.
Lot 7 does have a longer driveway to get back to the house.
And that's all pervious stone?
So once we pass into the riverfront area, it transitions to a pervious paver driveway. So it'll be a nicer, this will be a quality. Both of these houses, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn, but they seem very craftsman to me, John. They're very customized. Lot 7, this house is actually a one-story, it's kind of like a, I don't know, a craftsman cape, but the second level is actually built into the kind of what would be the normal attic space. So it's a shorter height on this one. And yeah, as the driveway comes down, we've actually added a mini catch basin here, in addition to having the pervious pavers. So if these do get overwhelmed, which they can, the catch basin would take any additional runoff and bring that back to the dry wells. And we did add 2 additional dry wells on this lot outside the riverfront area under the driveway here. This one has a deck off the rear and a narrow yard of 5 to 10 feet off the rear of the house. So the good thing about having small yards in the back on the riverfront side, there's less lawn, there's less, you know, I know the conditions prevent fertilizers, but I thought that was another kind of small benefit to these designs is they do have very little yards. The yards are focused more in the front of the homes on both of these here. Okay, and this one on lot 7, this one has about 1,500 square feet additional alterations. So this mirrors the other lot. So that's where I was saying we just switched the alteration between the two, slightly decreasing it overall and still under the 10% threshold. And the riverfront setback, 100-foot buffer zone are in color. I believe we got the colors right. Hopefully we did for the new bylaw. And the site plan for lot 7, I can also walk through if you'd like me to do that. We didn't really present that one.
Are you all set, Scott?
I'm all set, yeah. I can walk, like I said, I can walk you through the lot 7 site plan if you'd like me to do that. You can zoom-
Briefly, if you
Yep.
would, please.
Yep. Thank you, David. So again, this shows in a little more detail. You have the driveway that comes in. It is a little longer.
And that first half is asphalt?
Yeah, so this would be asphalt, and then you can see the blue line is your 200-foot riverfront area. And we transition to a pervious surface for the rest of it. We have the catch basin here, which drains back. You know, this would be kind of your overflow to get it back to 2 new dry wells that were installed or proposed under the driveway. And then, of course, we still had the drywall from the original approved plan for the roof runoff. So they could pipe the roof runoff to either of these two, and that would be fine. There's a small deck off the back of the house, and then the limit of work would be this brown line here, roughly about a 5-foot yard around the back of the house. It's not much. And that's it. That's the extent. Again, this the design here too also matches the topography better. I feel you know, these were really customized to fit on the lots.
Okay. Let me open it up to the board for questions. Chelsea, any questions?
So I know you have the driveway transitioning to a pervious paver. Is that also like the proposed deck, is that also gonna be pervious, and the walkway and stuff?
Yeah, the deck obviously there would be spaces between them. You have to by code, because if you butt them up against each other, they hold water and the decks rot. So you do have to put spaces between them so they would drip. You know, you typically don't get vegetation growing under the deck, but you know, you usually have gravel or something underneath that, so it will allow water to pass through into the ground.
So the deck is it a patio or a deck?
It's a deck. It's a deck.
So
Yeah,
it's-
it would be up. Yep. Because we're following the house is up. You can see the garage here at 70.5, and you have a first floor of 72.3, and your grade back here is about 68. So your first floor is about 4 feet above that. So the deck would be about 4 feet above the ground in that back area. So it's elevated up a little bit. So things could still grow up against it. You could definitely get plantings and shrubs back there, probably shade tolerant, because there's not much of a backyard there, but it would allow water to pass through.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chelsea. You're at the floor.
No, that's all I had. I was just curious.
Questions on lot 6?
Can we go back to lot 6 and let me look at it again?
There's both. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay.
I will note there is a small delay.
Yep.
So when you think David doesn't do anything, we just want you guys to know that he is actively working and he's not listening.
I'm struggling real hard over here.
Yeah, no,
I
just
trust
know
him.
if you hear, there is a delay, so.
I know he's plugging along.
None of us know how to deal with a silence for more than like 5
Exactly.
seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I don't have any questions on this one. I think it looks good.
Okay, thanks. Ann, any questions?
On lot, okay, the lot that moved closer to the riverfront.
Lot 7.
Okay, so you've got the deck, and there, that small piece of land beyond to the riverfront red dotted dash line there. Okay, is that flat? Is that a hill? What?
Yeah, so it gradually, that's what I'm saying, it's kind of a plateau here. This is
Okay.
one of the features of the natural landscape. So actually, this plan does show, it's kind of screened back because it's not the focus of this plan, but you can see lot 8 here.
Yeah.
And you can follow these dashed lines, the existing contour line, so that's your 68 contour. And your 66, they're every 2 feet, and then your 64. And these drop down. So what this indicates is this is a slope.
Okay.
It's about a 3-to-1 existing. It drops down, and then it's relatively level as you get down to the wetland area. You're going to be down in that 58, 56 elevation. The lot here is 68 up to about 70 on the high point.
Okay.
So that's what we're saying. You get that big grade difference. It's kind of a depression back here too. So it's kind of a little. There's a hole back here. It's been there for a long time. It was probably dug many decades ago, probably with the railroad construction.
Okay.
My best guess. But you can see the setbacks here. This black line is your 100-foot to the riverfront area. These lines you can see actually way off. This is the former. You had the 25 and 35, and then your 100-foot buffer zone here. So there's no work in the 100-foot buffer zone.
Okay. And the in terms of, I assume it's going to be grass back there?
Very well. It's a very narrow yard here. It's only about 5 feet, so they could put a little grass. I would expect probably it would be something that would be a little more shade tolerant back there.
All right. All right. That's all I wanted. I was more curious about the shrunken size of their backyard.
And beyond that, it's just going to be,
It's going downhill.
It would be left, yeah.
It's
left.
going downhill.
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
You know, and again, just to clear too, there could be some pruning if there's any limbs hanging out over into the house area that you could see those pruned up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the house is shorter. It's a 1-story house with the second floor kind of in the roof area. So.
Okay.
Both are one-story houses?
No, the other one's
other
2
one's a
stories.
two-story,
The other
yeah.
one's 2
So
stories.
which one are we looking at here?
This is the.
This is lot 7. This is the 1-story.
This 1-story.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Thank
see the
you.
longer driveway. All set?
Yes.
Okay, Vanessa.
Thanks. Scott, could you tell me for lot 7, What is the square footage of the riverfront area?
So there's you see the table on the plan? Yep, there we go. So I have actually both lots on here. This is how we permitted it initially. So you can see lot 6, the existing permit has 4,068 square feet approved. We're reducing that to 2,538. So it's about that 1,500 square foot reduction. And on lot 7, it was previously approved for 2,308 square feet, and that's gone up to about 3,812. And again, that's about that 1,500 square feet. And then these are the totals here, 6,376 and 6,350, which puts it
So
just...
not the area that's proposed to be altered. What is the total riverfront area for lot 7?
Total riverfront. So in the, I thought I had this on the plan. Hang on one second. So I believe it's in the narrative. So the total riverfront area on the site, I'm just going to calculate this real quick. It's a little over 64,000 square feet.
What do you mean by site?
So
Lot
on
6
the
plus 7?
on the total, so on the subdivision, right? So when these lots were approved, we looked at the alteration of the riverfront on the property, and so that included all of the lots. 8, it occurs on 8, 7, 6, and just a little bit on lot 5. We're not into the riverfront area on lots 8 or 5. And lot 6 is the odd one. Lot 6 extends back, and lot 5 kind of wraps around everything. You had those tails.
Okay, so that's still really not answering my question of what is the square footage of riverfront area total on lot 7?
I don't have the total number on lot 7. I don't have that broken out.
So have the lots been officially subdivided?
The lots have been subdivided, yes.
So it's not clear to me that if the lots have been subdivided, that we can talk about riverfront alteration on multiple lots that are now separate, when previously they were not subdivided, but they are now.
Right, so they're still all under one ownership. So the same owner still owns everything. They haven't been conveyed out. And this is still one project as far as the subdivision. All the permits are under one project. So we're carrying forward the same riverfront numbers that we received approvals on.
Peter, can I ask Georgia to speak to this, how it works when the lots were previously not subdivided, but in the interim they have become subdivided?
Sure. Georgia?
Yes, and I will, again, toss it off to David, but I will note that I haven't run into this situation before of permitting something under combined lots, but here in the way I'm interpreting it is that lot 6 and lot 7 are entirely separate. They, of course, Beaver Brook LLC does own them, but that's not to say someone else could own one tomorrow, and Beaver Brook LLC still own the other the next day. I'm not sure if covenanting them or conveying them changes that, but the way I would recommend reviewing it is the riverfront area alteration on the lot that is being provided for under the DEP file number. I mean, in this, they're reviewing lot 6, lot 7. So I guess just knowing that alteration that Vanessa had asked for, it would be good to have those calculations.
Yeah, I can certainly provide those. I just want to note too that when we received the initial orders on this, we locked in the alteration that was allowed for the project. So that appears on the order conditions as the allowable riverfront area. So we memorialized that footprint of alteration within the riverfront area.
Yeah, memorialize what was approved on that plan, that amount of alteration, but appears those are changing.
They're just shifting where that alteration falls.
So I guess what Vanessa is asking is if it's okay if those can shift. And what I'm saying is I've never been in a situation where we're now shifting riverfront alterations from one order of approved order to another. You know, they did approve, 1,400 or whatever it was for lot 6 and 4,000 something for lot 7. I don't know where it says you're allowed to kind of swap those alteration percentages, even though it is under one lot. I think that's kind of what Vanessa was asking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that answer. I'm going to ask David if he has anything to add to that.
I don't have much. I mean, I guess I would let Vanessa speak more if she wants more info. But that's a pretty specific question. I think we'd have to dig into that a little further to go forward. But it really depends on the will of the commission, whether or not Member Curran is demanding an answer immediately, or if she can wait 2 weeks.
I can wait 2 weeks.
I think that would be helpful for us as staff anyway.
Yeah, it's just not clear to me, and, I'm not exactly a subdivision expert and all the rules that go along with subdivisions, but, my understanding previously was you could look at them together because they had not been subdivided, but now that they have been subdivided, I just don't know how the procedure changes, and it sounds like staff need a little more time to look into that.
Yeah. So to play this out in another way, because the lots are all under one ownership, theoretically, if we were going to go down this path, we could file an A&R plan and merge the two lots together, shift the work between the two, and then subdivide them again and end up at the same point. The deed restriction on the riverfront area alteration, the restriction that was put in when those permits were issued, apply to all the lots in the subdivision, regardless of whether they're these two, Lot 8 or Lot 5, because that's on the entirety of the estate. Does that make sense? So they cannot alter any more riverfront area than what was previously approved. And I think, Vanessa, what you're asking, there is some delineation between lots that were created before, I want to say 96, and after 96, and how we look at the standards between that delineation when they put the Rivers Protection Act into place. But what I'm saying, my point is these are existing orders, and we're requesting an amendment. It's all the same ownership, and we're talking about really lot lines. I don't think that affects, we're not asking to increase the total riverfront area for the project.
I don't think ownership really has anything to do with it, because if you just went and bought 3 houses abutting each other in an area that had wetlands, I don't think you can just lump together what you're doing. I don't think ownership really has anything to do with it. I'm personally inclined to ask if staff could look into it a little bit more.
Sir, go ahead. Could you spit to the microphone, please?
John Colantoni, representing Beaver Brook Woods LLC. I have a question for the commission, because I have to be honest, I'm confused. We spent a lot of time in front of this commission when we were getting the approvals of the entire subdivision. When we were getting the approvals of the entire subdivision, you took it as the whole subdivision, but each lot. That's how we did it. So we're filing, I don't know if it's a major or minor modification for each lot, similar to what we did with Lot 8, And one of the reasons that we're doing that is, one, as Scott explained very elegantly, we know what we want to build there now, which we didn't know before. But also because one of the conditions that we have is that on lot 6, 7, and 8, the commission wanted us to come back to show what we were going to do on each lot and if there was going to be any adjustments. So that's exactly what we're doing. So as long as the totals aren't changing, there shouldn't be any reason why we can't do that, because we're doing what the commission asked us to do a year or so back, whenever it was. So I guess I'm confused on what's being asked. It doesn't make any sense. We're doing what the commission wants us to do, and now we're being told to do something different. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I guess I'd like clarification on that.
I'm not suggesting that at this stage you need to do anything different. I'm just asking for some information from staff.
She's asking for the riverfront area broken down per lot. That's what I'm.
And my question to that, and I apologize for interrupting Scott, is it's not going to make any difference. Like, how does that change anything? That's my question. Like, if we come back and tell you it's 10 or 20 or whatever, and the totals stay the same, which they are, I'm confused what that makes the difference to the commission.
Well, the commissioner, she has a valid question, and I think we should be considering continuing until we get better answers to that.
I don't want to show any disrespect to the commission at all. I'm having trouble understanding what any answer would change. I don't want to, we have no problem with the answer. I'm sorry we don't have it at our fingertips. We have no problem with that. But I guess I'm just asking how that would make any difference at all in the overall picture. I think that's a legit question.
I don't have an answer for you. I mean, I'm trusting Vanessa's knowledge.
I'm asking the commission member that's...
I have to admit, I'm only able to hear about half of what Mr. Colantoni is saying. I think he was closer to the mic and then went a little further away, and it got hard to hear.
I'm going to take that as a big compliment, because usually everyone says my mouth is too loud. So thank you. I was just asking, providing that information we have no problem with. But I'm confused how whatever the answer is, how it's going to make any difference to the overall picture of the decision. So I don't want to show any disrespect, like we're trying not to provide that. That's not the case at all. I just don't understand, Vanessa, whatever the answer is, the totals are going to stay the same. So I don't know, I'm confused on how that makes a difference for you. That's all.
I just wanted to allow staff to have time to confirm that if the lots have since been subdivided, since we issued the initial orders, in lot 6 and lot 7, do have two different file numbers. It's not the same file number. That if staff can confirm that, yes, even though the lots have been subdivided since the initial orders, then you can still look at the alteration across multiple lots, then I'll be satisfied. I just want to give them time to confirm that for me.
John, I think it sounds like she wants the calculations provided that Scott will provide and staff to get further information and confirmation that what is being presented is allowable, whether that be council, if that's what the commission wants, or just David and I researching further. I think that's what Vanessa Curran's asking.
Yeah, and I would, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
John, hold on. David was just saying
I'm
something.
sorry, David.
No, sorry. No, I was just going to say, I would echo what George has said. It seems like a extraordinarily simple question to ask for the number, and as John was saying, we don't have it at our fingertips this evening, and I think it's more than the simple number and getting into a jurisdiction and a legal opinion that we would have to probably go to council to resolve whether or not the riverfront area numbers can be swapped between the different lots. I understand what Mr. Cameron was saying about merging them under an A&R, that would seem somewhat onerous, and then going back after that. But we should probably check with town council before going forward on whether or not the amounts, since they have separate DEP file numbers, can be swapped between the two lots, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, we permitted these together, and the orders reference and the plans that were approved reference both lots. So everything was done together, regardless whether they have two numbers. And that same table's on this plan now, so we maintain that. Knowing this would probably come up during that process, we planned ahead for that situation. That's why we wanted to do these together, initially and now.
Okay, are you comfortable with continuing until our next meeting so we can get some answers?
Yeah, well, I can provide the areas for you and break that down. You know, the context of the total project. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Were there any?
Can we just continue without public comment, or
Well, I believe, did you only open the hearing for lot 6?
we
I think
open both?
You open both, so then I would
Open both, right.
continue both.
So what?
And then I would continue both if there's no public comment.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I guess I would like to let the public, this is a public hearing under the bylaw, so.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Matthew Duggan.
Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matthew Duggan, Selectman. A question about Lot 6. So I heard it. This is that in the riverfront area, or is it outside?
Mr. Duggan, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, the swimming pool on Lot 6. Is that in the riverfront area? Hello?
We heard you. Just 1 second.
It is.
Scott, did you get that
Yes,
question?
it is. Yep. Yes, it is. Oh, this is.
Okay, so I heard that the drainage of the pool will go into a dry well. So I have a in-ground pool with a DE filter, and the DE material is like glue. If that's being pumped into a dry well, that's not a long-term solution. So this dry well would get clogged up, I think, after a while. That's just a comment.
To clarify that, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Go ahead.
This is the pool overflow. So this is where, you know, if it rains out, the pool doesn't top over and go towards the riverfront area. This isn't for the filter system. That has a whole separate thing attached to it, whether it's a DE filter or another type of filter cartridge or whatever it is. It's a good point by Mr.
So I
Duggan.
think
But the filter powder.
I think I misunderstood. So when the filter is backwashed, where does that water go?
It depends on how, I can't even tell you it's going to be that type of filter or who's going to be maintaining it. Companies will often take those with them. They clean them off-site. The homeowners can do it. They can do it on the ground. They can do it into however they want to do it. Most people, they don't want to do it on the ground because it makes a big mess.
Yeah.
Could someone mute?
All right,
turn
then
your-
just one
turn
other
your
thing
music off.
about Lot 6. Does that have an easement in the front yard? Is that the lot with the front yard easement? Town of Danvers?
There is an easement through the front yard.
Okay. And are there any permanent dry wells or other fixtures? Because I think I heard something about the driveway being modified.
Yeah, there are 2 dry wells in that area, but they're not obstructing the use of the easement. They'd be below ground.
All right. Well, I'm just concerned about any permanent features in the easement. I'm not sure that's allowed, but that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'll have more comments at the continuation of this hearing.
Okay.
I think he raises a valid question, Scott. We should try to have an answer, how they would maintain their filter. where the filter powder would go.
Matthew Duggan.
Is now exiting.
Goodbye, Matt. I mean, I don't need the answer right now, Scott.
Yeah, I got a note on it, just some more information on the pool. I don't know what type of filter it is, you know, that's usually
It's
what.
just, you know, with the,
I think we
the
can solve it
vulnerable
simply
area
by, do not, you know, it's gotta follow applicable regulations as far as pool maintenance and discharge.
We might just wanna have a condition.
You're not allowed to discharge, that DE filter waste to, a river or a catch basin or anything else. It's supposed to be collected and controlled.
I think they're going away from DE filters too, aren't they? Can't you buy with cartridges and all that? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so, is there any other questions from the public? And are you folks all set if we?
I just, if the
continue?
commission has any other questions on the project other than the riverfront area numbers.
Not at the moment, no. Okay, if someone can make a motion to, we have to do two motions because we have two public hearings going at the same time. So, someone can go ahead.
I'll make a motion
Matthew
to,
Dogan.
Is now joining.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for Beaver Brook subdivision, lot 6, TEP file number 14-1332 to the next meeting,
Which is September the 9th.
September 9th. Yep.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
And Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay. Now for lot number 7. Could someone make a motion to close that public hearing, to continue the public hearing?
I make the motion to continue the public hearing for lot 7. The number is 14-1333 to September 9th.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Okay. So that closes those two. Item number 5, a continued public hearing, Second Amendment request for 4 Carroll Way. My understanding is that the applicant has requested a continuance
Correct.
until September 9th?
The 9th.
The
I think
9th.
Ashley had requested for the 9th, and I had noted to her that I would note to the board that I've been in contact with her and discussions with her and Steve King. It sounded like she just reached out to him not too long ago. So it's not, nothing is not moving forward, if that makes sense. They are actively working
They're making
on
some progress.
Okay.
getting things updated, so.
Okay, good. So if someone can make a motion, we'll continue that hearing.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing for 4 Carroll Way, Department File Number 141303 till September 9th.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the last item on our is a public hearing for proposed changes to the Danvers Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 26, which is our standings. So Georgia, if you could just give us a quick overview.
Yeah.
We'll see if there's any public comment.
I'll run through again, like I had at the last meeting, just for everyone here and people at home that are interested. So there, as everyone is aware or not aware, the commission did a big comprehensive overhaul of the Wetland Protection Bylaw and their regulations, and that was adopted at the February special town meeting of last year. So as with any update, there are some errors from that update, and those we are proposing to fix at this special town meeting. This is a general bylaw change, so if the commission is in favor of these amendments tonight, it would simply just be a vote to put forth the proposed changes in the general bylaw. So I'll walk through those. So the first one on the screen, let me move this, sorry. The first one on the screen here is clarifying the 35 no disturb zone. It was written incorrectly here, so we struck that language to make it more consistent, and that's on page 1 of our existing bylaw. Next page, I think, formatting error that I'll fix. And then same thing again, definitions. The no build zone definition defined the no build zone as being up gradient from the no disturb zone, but really the no disturb zone is inside the no build zone, so that was edited to clarify better. And then here, I would say, is really the most substantial change. That's not just a grammatical error or a text edit. So here we added limited projects, provisions for allowing limited projects to be exempt at the control of the Conservation Commission from the 35 and the 50. And a reminder that limited projects, they are named limited projects for how limitedly they happen. So really those are either major public infrastructure projects such as sewer installs, roadway crossings, bridge work, some random very agricultural exemptions like digging a pond on your farm for your cattle, or the rail trail pedestrian bridge crossing, that was a limited project. Some coastal work and bank stabilization stuff, that's usually limited projects. So in this, it would exempt the town, again, at the discretion of the commission or any applicant filing for a limited project to be exempt from the 35 and the 50. So in this, again, it's not just blanket, they don't have to follow the rules. At the commission's discretion, they can say, all right, here, we're not gonna limit you to the 20% in the 50 because the sewer repair or the water main needs to be replaced here, and that's something that would benefit the community. I will say, to be a limited project under the State Wetlands Protection Act, you have to meet a number of requirements. So it would, very rarely would you see a developer or a resident coming off the street wanting to file a limited project. It's usually something that it's pretty costly or well planned out ahead of time. So in this, that would allow a little bit more discretion for the commission and wouldn't bind the town and limited project applicants. Any questions on that one, it being the biggest change we have? I think this is something that should have been included, I think, in the update last year. So having added those more restrictive buffers, we failed to really see how that could have a negative impact on some of the positive projects, if that makes sense. All right, David. And then I would say the second more substantial one is changes to the minor activities. So these changes are also based on discussions we've had with the commission since the update. So we added a linear foot provision for fences to 200 feet. That was just based off average lot size, kind of average project for fences. That seemed appropriate. And I also added provisions I usually get calls for people that want to remove trees, not because they're going to fall on the house, but because maybe there's pine needles falling all over the car, or it's not a health or hazard. Right now they have to file an RDA no matter what, if it's in the 100-foot buffer. So this minor project allows those removals of trees within the 50 that aren't providing important shade habitat, that may be more of a nuisance. So this provision does allow that to happen through a minor project permit. And that was the changes for that. I think that's really our bigger one. There should be, oh yes, and then the last two, certificate of mailing, so that was deleted by accident on the last update, so we're putting that back in. And then the last two you'll see are just complete strikeout deletions, and that's based on the Attorney General's recommendation from reviewing our last update. So at Town Council's recommendation, we struck those to just say consistent with what's required. And that's it. Again, nothing like the review the commission had done last year, in which you guys changed a lot, which was absolutely needed. So I would say if the commission or the public doesn't have any questions and the board felt comfortable to put the recommendations forward, that would be their next step.
Okay, thanks. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I guess we should vote to close the public hearing. So someone can make a motion to that effect?
I make a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed changes for the general bylaws.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll vote on adopting the changes, or, I don't know if we're adopting
So
per
you
se.
would
We're-
vote to recommend.
We're recommending them to the town meeting
Yep.
for their approval. So if someone can make a motion to that effect, please?
Sure, I'll make a motion to recommend the proposed changes to the Danvers Wetlands bylaw to
Town meeting.
town meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any old or new business?
No?
Nope, we're good?
Good.
Okay, and adjournment. So if someone can make a motion, we can adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chelsea, I thought you said I made a motion.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.